Hey, everybody, it's Maria from What's the Story with Maria. How's it going? Welcome to our show. Tonight is Tuesday, April 12th. I am coming to you live from Cliffside Park, New Jersey. I'm usually in New York, but tonight I'm in New Jersey at Judy's house. We have a very special guest. He's been my friend for over 30 years. He's amazing. This man does more than you could ever imagine. His name is Mark Nassar. And Leo, he's going to hit that promo.
I'm a big fish in a small pond. Got my days free and the nights long. I create my own reality. Who I am is fine with me. As famous as I wanna be. Who I am is fine with me. It's who I am. It's who I am.
Welcome back. We're so glad you're here. We're always glad you're here. Tuesday is my favorite night of the week. And we've been doing the show now. It's been 8 years, every Tuesday. Great things happen. We've had so many wonderful people on our show. Now, our guest tonight, I've been trying to get on our show for a long time, but he's really busy. And he's really busy with great stuff all the time. And he's like a get your hands dirty, do it all yourself kind of guy. So he's always busy doing something. But tonight we have Mark Nassar. And I know I met him doing Tony and Tina's wedding. And I know our Tony and Tina people are going to be like, wow. Julie Cesari, who usually joins us, she'll join us tonight. She's going to be so happy. So let's shout out Danielle is always our first in. Danielle Alexandria Alchemy. Happy Tuesday, Maria. Leo What's the Story with Maria crew. Guess what? Big meteor shower tonight and tomorrow night. The Perseid meteor shower with lots of shooting stars. Really? Mostly 11. Dawn local time. Should I go out and look, Danielle? Danielle is a spiritual guide. She's a medium. She's a past life regressionist. She does all kinds of astrology stuff. She does everything that has to do with that world. So if you want to get your a reading with Danielle or any of that stuff, you go to Danielle Alchemy, DanielleAlexandriaAlchemy.com and go and check out all the different services that she has. It's incredible. I cannot say enough about Danielle. Lori Towers has joined us, the coolest place on a hot summer night. Thank you, Lori. It's even cooler when you join us and your handsome husband, John. We have so much to catch up on, Lori. We'll try to talk this week. I know Louise Sorrell's book was released this week, I believe. And so lots of great things. Maybe we can get Louise back on the show soon. Gavin Baugh. Hi, honey. Good to see you. Happy you're here. So lots of stuff going on this week. Leo, can you join me or are you really busy back there? So I was away at camp with Camp Felix from Road Recovery. Me and my Road Recovery guys were at Camp Felix for from Sunday to Thursday. And Leo, I have no idea how you do it. I did it for 5 days, and I was like, I felt like if I was a cartoon, my eyeballs are being like, wow, wow, I mean, like stars floating around my head, and like literally I had come apart like a little robot. Running.
I did it for 6 weeks. I did it for 6 weeks like that.
I know. So how did you said you're all done now? So, I mean, I don't know how you did it. We pulled off a great show. We had a lot of things thrown at us at the last minute. We always made the best of it. I worked with the best musicians, amazing guys. They were /social workers. My boss, as you met, Gene, is amazing. But that is like not easy work. I thought of you the whole time. Leo, my hat is off to you, my friend. Running a theater camp, after school stuff, all that stuff, that's a lot of work. People don't realize it. I mean, I do after school stuff, but to do a camp, like an overnight camp for 5 nights.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of energy. There's a lot of crash course in parenting.
That's what it is. Absolutely.
Although I have had teens this year, I was able to hire a bunch of teens for my staff. So I had about 7 staffers, and about 5 of them were teens. And so with some of the parents, we were joking like, "This is Mr. Leo's sex education preventative workshop," because you ask the kids, ask the teenagers, "Hey, you ready to have kids now?" And the 16-year-olds, and they're like,
Yeah,
I'm
because
like,
they see the younger kids.
mhm.
That's what it is.
So
Yeah.
Sister Leo, I mean Mr. Leo's, well, maybe Sister Leo's. Stay separate apart, teenagers. That's how we avoid this. Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? It's true. Like the best lesson to teach a kid is to have them actually be responsible with other kids, you know? And then they were great. And you saw Ralph, our junior staff. We met Ralph 12 years ago when he was just a little guy and he was in the program. And now he's 23, incredible. And you see how he plays the piano.
Yeah,
I mean, you saw that
piano,
video.
drums. You saw what else
He
did he
plays
play?
everything: piano, drums. He plays guitar, but he's also so great with the kids. He's so great; they really look up to him.
But
Yeah.
he is
He's
he's
from the
like a lot of
Bronx.
them that they transfer into this role, but they know he knows what it was like to walk in and not have the chance or the idea of a chance, and then to see this blossom, and he really appreciates it. That's the part
Yeah,
that
and he kept walking around the camp because he had been there before and saying like, "Oh, I remember this and I remember that," and he was just walking around. Like he spent a lot of time when we had downtime just walking around shooting baskets with the other kids, and he's a great role model. He's really a great guy. And then Christopher, who is our Mr. Christopher is Mr. August in the Nothing But the Apron calendar or show calendar.
ha
There's
cha cha cha.
I know he's the best. So he and I worked together a lot after school, and he was at this camp as well, and I love him to death. He's like my buddy. So he was there. Christopher's amazing. Rick Sudi Caritas has joined us. Hello, Maria
Hi,
and
Sudi.
Leo. Hi, honey. Nice to see you. We have a lot of people that will check in as the show goes on. Now,
I think Giuliani. I think I saw her. I think Julie. I
oh,
think she signed in.
okay. So Julie, here's this. She's going to love this show. So Rena Crinali Berge, hello and happy Tuesday. Rena's my cousin from Massachusetts. Hi, sweetheart. So Julie Cesari, who always checks into our show. Julie, you are going to be beside yourself tonight because guess who our guest is? Mark Nassar. Julie knows Mark very, very well because Julie was the director of Tony and Tina's wedding in New York. And Mark and a bunch of other people that were the co-creators of Tony and Tina's wedding. And Julie, there's such an amazing story to this original cast. Jean Simpson Dunn has joined us. Hi, sweetheart. She's out in, I have so much to talk to you about, Jean.
She's my other partner in crime.
Oh, I know. I might have to call you this week. There's so much going on in the Midwest that I want to talk to you about. And Gavin, he says, hey, Jean. Jean,
did you see, I'm sorry, what? Did you see Rena's postings this week on Facebook? There's some tomatoes in a heart.
Oh, yes.
So I'm just thinking of my Rena right now, and I'm laughing.
I know. And her very handsome husband. So anyway, okay, so much going on, and we want to get the show started a little earlier than usual because, as I said, Mark has so much going on all the time, and I want to get to everything that he's doing. So are we ready for our friend Mark Nassar?
I think we are.
Let's bring him in. Julie, you can lose your mind. Yep, Julie always checks in with us. Hi, honey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Let's get a little more light on you. Let's put a little so we can see your handsome face. So Mark Nassar. Oh, there it is. Okay, perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to check. We're going live on the on Maria Gentili page. Then we're also going to go live. We're going live as we speak on our YouTube channel if anybody wants to see that. And people can watch us on the What's the Story with Maria page as well. So I will periodically be checking because people check in on both pages. So Mark, you know Julie, of course. Julie.
Oh God, I love Julie. You got to be kidding me.
You don't understand how many times she said to me, when are you going to have Mark Nassar on the show? I said, Julie, I'm trying. He's really busy. So, honey,
No,
you're at
we love Julie, and Julie did such a great job as the director of Tony and Tina's wedding. I mean,
she hired me.
she came. Yes,
I'm indebted to her.
she really did a phenomenal job of casting. And after the original cast, which Larry Pellegrini was directing, but once Julie came in, we had so many great actors come into that show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's so, I mean, I can just go on and on. I don't even want to start because I don't want to leave anybody out. But the people that Julie cast were sensational people and super talented. And I think Julie brought a lot of reality to that show. Took a lot of the theatricality out of it and put the reality into it. And I thought
I love that.
I think that was a real helpful thing.
Mark, the original cast was 1990, or was it before that?
Well, the original show, the showcase of it was 1985.
Wow.
Right. So that's when we did the ceremony in a studio in Soho, and the audience grabbed cabs to go to 14th Street to the Elks Club, the American Legion Hall, I should say, on 14th between 7th and 8th. So that's where it started, and it was just a showcase. So I think we just did 6 shows. The producer, Joe Cochran, was my roommate, and I said, Joe, I can't find actors to do this. They don't get it. It's an improv, it's a wedding. I said, all you have to do is be an usher at my wedding. And he was the producer.
And he was your roommate.
Right. And he was a stockbroker, and he ended up, raising the money to put this off Broadway. And the off Broadway show opened in 1988.
Wow.
At Carmelita's Reception Hall.
Oh my God. And then I joined it in 91, and there were so many amazing people there already. You guys had this run that was going it was such a high, that show. It was on such a high streak, and the level of actors was so good. It was so good.
We just did a show in San Francisco of Tony and Tina's wedding.
I saw that.
Yeah, and we had some wonderful people from New York come in, and Tony Lauria directed, and it was amazing. And they brought some young people in from the Bay Area, and they were really, young and refreshing. And what I would say is that the people that created the roles originally created these parts that are kind of timeless. Elizabeth Dennehy, who played Donna, one of the bridesmaids, was the singer, the person that's going to be a star. And there was a young lady who came in, Allison Hagen, who played it and brought that same thing, that young person that's in the wedding party that thinks they have a shot at stardom.
Right,
still works, and so there's a lot of examples of that. But hats off to because the way we did it originally was each person that came into that project created their own part, and in the beginning it was really just the track of doing a regular New York wedding, and we improv'd everything around it. And then before we went to Broadway, off Broadway, we took a lot of the parts that worked and, solidified them in the script. So it became more written, but it was still pretty much an improv,
Oh, and it was a different show every night. But you knew what was expected of you. You knew where you had to be. You knew what had to happen. But the rest you left up to us, and I'll never forget that. Because it was like taking 7 improv classes a week doing that show. And you never knew what was going to happen. And it was always fun, and it was always exciting. And it just was amazing. So I still look back at those years as just an amazing experience that I had. And as are you, we're still friends with all those amazing people.
Yes, we still have a heart. We have a great group. I mean, that's the other thing that's wonderful about it is, each cast is its own family, and your cast was its own family,
Yep.
and we still hang out together, and we still support each other in the arts. I'm here with you now.
I
Um,
know.
you know, I see, our gang on Facebook and whatever. We're still hanging out. We're still in the game. We're still
Yeah.
creating. And that's the other thing you learn from Tony and Tina's wedding. If you got to do it, just go do it.
Right.
Don't wait for somebody to do it or cast you or whatever. So really
You're
amazing.
absolutely right about that. You can't. That is one of the greatest lessons I learned, and it's you have to make your own work.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
can't. And there's so much to create still. Now, so what was the original role that you played? Was Tony, right?
I was the original Tony. Yes,
You were the original Tony.
I
And
was
this
married 1,000 times
1,000 times you played Tony.
in 5 different cities. Only once for real, but it's all good.
I love that. 5 different. How many different Tinas did you work with? You think?
Oh, I'd say 8 to 10.
Yeah.
But I felt lucky to do these different cities also, because I got to go to these great cities like Chicago and Los Angeles and Boston, San Francisco, and really get to know those cities. And when you're doing a show, it's the best, because when you're doing a play, you're working 3 or 4 hours a night. But by the time you get there and by the time you leave, it's 3 or 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the time, you get to enjoy these great cities and explore them, and you meet all these friends and have all these networks. I could go to all these different cities and still have friends that are from those shows.
Absolutely. Now you have created other shows since Tony and Tina's. Johnny's. Now Johnny's is one of the shows you created. I saw that on your page.
Right. Johnny Boy's graduation was Johnny's getting out of jail, and they're throwing him a party. The boss is throwing him a party. And the first time we did it, we were doing a fundraiser for another project I had. And, we did it in an old temple on Norfolk Street. And, Kevin Alexander was one of the writers, Justine. And, Kevin came up with the idea of having this guy. I wanted to do a mob thing, but he came up with the idea of a guy getting out of jail. And we just threw it up. And it was spectacular. And then we did it another time for the Downtown Theater Club, which was a theater company I had in New York. We produced it for a couple months. But then I did it in Chicago, where that show belonged, because that town is all about gangsters and whatnot. And I was visiting a friend of mine who was in jail, Jerry Scalise, who stole the Marlboro diamond out of a jewelry store in London in the early 80s. So he's a famous gangster. I met him because I was writing a screenplay with him that somebody, hired me to do. But we've been friends ever since. So I was visiting him. I walked down the street and I found this place called Bonavino's, and it was an Italian, American restaurant, but it had a little catering hall, and it was a half a block from the actual jail, and it was under the L tracks. And it ran for 4 years in Chicago.
Wow.
And it was really another one of those adventures where you just go, you talk about just going, I was trying to get other people to produce it. It's so hard to get producers. And I literally I borrowed 5 or 10 grand and went to Chicago with that money.
Is it because is it hard to get people to produce it because they don't understand what's happening, or they're not sure it's going to work? What do you think the biggest challenge is?
They don't get it. They don't get it. It's amazing when you have of a success like Tony and Tina's wedding. They think, oh, that was lucky.
Right.
But there's a formula to this also. I mean, there's something about it. It's interactive. It's people that are, they're right next to it, and a lot of people think, oh, I can just do an interactive show. Well, you can't. It's just like any other show. It has to be crafted well. It has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end that works. And you have to involve the audience in a way that it's not over theatrical. I feel
Right.
like you have to make them feel like they're really at the event.
And they do. I have people that still, like years later, will be like, they'll either I'll have someone on the show or they'll let them know that I was in it, or Susie, because Susie and I still work together everywhere. And they'll say, oh, I saw that in 1998. And they'll tell stories about it. And they're not like, they won't say the actors. They'll say, yeah, those guys took me in the bathroom and they were talking about, it's like they really experienced, or I was at whatever it was, or I was slow dancing with this guy, or whatever it was, they had the experience.
Absolutely.
And that's what I love about it.
I mean, you'll see in this picture here, some characters, and the one guy all the way to the left is Johnny Rickard. And Johnny didn't have a lot of acting experience, but look at the face, you know what I mean? It's like, and he was the boss's bodyguard, and so authentic,
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
so people would come in and we'd search them for weapons, but we'd have a bucket of weapons right next to the door, like we already confiscated some.
I love that.
And every night there was you'd see Johnny walking from the prison, getting out of the jail and walking over to the place, which is literally a 3-minute walk.
Oh my God.
So that was really something. But you can see people are just having a blast. I always think of Tony and Tina's wedding in some ways, and Johnny Boys. It's almost like a drag show in that when you're watching it, it's just it's allowing you to be yourself. You know what I mean? You're watching. Well, if these people can go out there and feel this, like at a drag show, they're just expressing themselves. It's the same thing with Italian American Wedding. You're going, man, these people are freeing me up to be who I want to be right now.
Absolutely.
And do the whole thing. So, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's like, and the immersive thing is, I had never heard of it until Tony and Tina's wedding. Like, and when I, by the way, when I tell people, like, here's your audition for Tony and Tina's or any immersive, Julie, was Wendy Kaplan said to me, I'm in this show. You're going to love it. You should audition for it. You'd be perfect. Because I knew Wendy. So I went and met Julie, and she said, yeah, why don't you come to the show on this particular date? And I did. I just went to the show. You don't realize that's your audition, because you are interacting with the cast, right? And so that's the beauty of it, is that there is no way to really do it except being thrown in there. And then it just gets better and better and better. So, and I find that now I understand. I mean, after a year, of course, I got it, but I didn't know anything about immersive. But you guys really started that. You started that whole thing. I didn't know anything else.
There was a couple things that were happening at that time. One of our show was the first interactive show that I can think of. I mean, there was things back in in the 60s and 70s group, where they were doing, pull people on stage and having interactions with them, but it wasn't a complete concept. And where you're, it's not an improv, give me a color, give me a name. It's literally an improv where you're playing the same character through the whole night.
Right.
There was another show that came out around the same time. It was called Tamara. And it was an immersive show, not like an interactive show so much, but you went through different rooms in this Italian villa, and there was a story told. And John Krasank wrote that. So it's amazing. It's a different style, but it's still immersive. You're inside the set. And I did a show in San Francisco called The Speakeasy.
Right.
Which was more an offspring of Tamara than Tony and Tina's wedding. but it was a 10,000 square foot underground speakeasy with a
Wow.
cabaret room, a casino, bars. I played the owner. I had my own office. It was a two-way mirror. There was a dressing room that was a two-way mirror. There was scenes happening all over, 35 actors, and it was an astounding play. And I was just an actor on. I was consulting a little bit on it, but I just enjoyed that so much to just be acting in that part, to play
Wow,
the
that
owner
sounds
of the
amazing.
amazing place.
So there's a lot, but that's the thing about any of this immersive stuff. Although 10,000 square feet, that's like really, there's like three things. I mean, there's more than more and more happening everywhere. And so it depends on what room you're in and who you're with, and you're going to get a different show every night if you
That's
went
right.
to that.
Well, that show, again, was more scripted than Tony and Tina's Wedding. And it was kind of crazy. I mean, the logistics of that show and rehearsing that show were insane. But one thing that I got out of doing that show was seeing an immersive show or being in an immersive show that had a serious tilt to it, whereas most of the shows I've done, I like to play them for real, but they're still humor based,
Yeah.
it's about getting laughs.
Now, there's Chris DePiero. Chris DePiero just joined us. Mark is amazing. I've been an actor in 5 of his shows and was fortunate to act with him. He is a mentor, friend, and an inspiration. I agree.
No,
and Chris is the best.
Chris is the best person that was ever. You know what I mean? There's nobody.
No, I agree. There's nobody.
And just could work a room like a banshee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like really work a room like a real pro.
Yeah.
Just go at it and just
But also he pulls for everybody. That's what I love about Chris. Chris doesn't compete with people. He pulls for everybody.
Yes.
Because he knows who he is. So no, he's great. Chris was actually this show. I've been doing this show for 8 years now. Chris was my very first guest.
Wow.
Yeah, him and Susie Davis.
Oh my God.
Were my first guest. Yeah, and Susie I met because she took over she was in Tony and Tina's when I was in it. I was Marina, and she became Marina. So when I left, then she became Marina. So Susie, I always felt like was like my little sister. She's the best.
That's the best.
They're wonderful. So now, Mark, just to kind of start to get over to so when I saw on Facebook, it was maybe towards the end of COVID that you were starting to post about the Compton cafeteria riots, right?
Yeah. So
that's a whole other world.
It's a whole other world. And, I was doing the speakeasy, like I said, and I was seeing that there could be a serious aspect in it. I could figure how a serious immersive show would work, that it could work. So I don't know if you remember Joey Suma, but Joey Suma is a really funny actor from New York, very talented. And he was opening a bar in the Tenderloin. And he said, man, you want to come over and help me over here? And so I said, sure. I wasn't doing anything at the time. And one of the customers there said to me, Mark, you got to tour the Tenderloin. Now, the Tenderloin is a notorious neighborhood. It's considered one of the toughest neighborhoods, or not the toughest, but kind of rough, a lot of drinking, a lot of drugs, a lot of crazy shit that you can't even believe.
Leo, did you want to say something? Because
I worked at the Clift Hotel. Which is Geary and Taylor, by the Tenderloin. And if you go up a little further by Nob Hill, we used to call that area the Tender Knob.
Yes. Well, one of my customers said, I'll give you a tour. So he gives me a tour of this, what looks like a bad neighborhood. But, it reminded me of the East Village in the early 80s when I was there, when we did Tony and Tina's there, actually. It was very similar. And he takes me to this church called St. Boniface, and Catholic church. But in the day, they let homeless people sleep in the pews. right?
Mm.
Which was very moving to me because, like, oh my God, this is a church that's really living it,
Doing what a
not
church
just
should be doing.
not
Right.
just preaching it, but living it. And I was very moved. And the next stop was the Tenderloin Museum, and it was a small museum, but it had all kinds of history of Tenderloin, which is music, jazz, pornography. It goes on and on what the Tenderloin has contributed to the culture.
Mm.
Oh
Then
yeah.
they had this exhibit of the Compton's cafeteria riot. And I went, wow, what is this? And it was in 1966, sex workers, an LGBTQ youth group, the original youth group called the Vanguard, and transgender sex workers rioted against police brutality. And it happened in 1966, 3 years before Stonewall. So I was
Wow.
like, oh my God, well, that would be an amazing immersive show. What would
But
happen?
who would think of that but you?
Yeah,
That would be an amazing immersive show. To me,
Yeah.
I hear that and I get frightened. And I
Yeah.
know I work at the Stonewall and I know that history and the tension that comes with even
Yeah.
working there now because of what's happening in the world.
Yeah.
I can't imagine immersive.
Yeah. So we were there, and and I was like, wow, this would be amazing. And I saw a documentary. The Katie Conray, who was running the museum, is now the director of the museum. Recommended a movie called Screaming Queens, the riot.
Yeah, I wrote that down because I think it's important to. Can people still see that?
Oh yeah, you can go on YouTube. It's
Okay.
KQED. It's amazing. It's a 49-minute documentary, and it's so well done. Susan Stryker, Victor Silverman made the movie. Susan Stryker is a transgender legend, a professor, has created the history. It's mind blowing. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
saw that and was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of storylines here, and I was introduced to Colette Legrand and Donna Persano, who were performers and were living in the Tenderloin at that time and had frequented Compton's and had their own amazing stories. I'd, talked to other people, but they were the ones who we really settled in to create this. And over a year, we met once a week, and they're on either side of me, and we're just debating and talking, and they're sharing all the characters that they knew, all these legends, who were, you think about what it must have been like in 1960s to live like a woman when you're born a man. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
Right.
But the stories that they brought to this were so compelling and so heartbreaking,
Yeah.
but also victorious. Like the one thing great about, not the one thing, but one of the great things about Compton's cafeteria riot is it's a victory in the end. It's very difficult to watch a lot of it. I mean, I'll sit there and watch some of the videos, and I'll watch the audience just they can't even look at it at points.
Wow.
But in the end, there's a riot, and they prevail in that moment. But I always say that we don't need to teach transgender folk or LGBTQ folk for that matter what oppression is. We don't have to teach them. They know what it is. They can come to this play and they can find a relatability to it. They can feel the power of it, of what that force was. But I like when I see people that aren't in the community come to the show, to see the humanity of these people, right?
Wow.
Of these human beings, these wonderful human beings, the humanity of it. I mean, because you can't, after seeing this play, not say, oh no, this is real. This isn't, oh, people just decided in their mind they wanted to be transgender.
Right.
Like one of the lines in the play is, yeah, I just wanted to be born and say that I wanted to get kicked in the teeth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's so much of that humanity going into this play that it really changes people's perspective, by the end of it. And also, we did it in 2018 for the first time as a showcase. We did it in a regular diner.
Wow.
And then we were going to do it a few years later, open it to a new space, but then COVID hit, so that pushed us away. It was another restaurant space. And then the Tenderloin Museum, who's been with this since the very beginning, supported this play. They found a location in the Tenderloin, but we had to create the diner. I don't know if you have a picture of that, but this diner is so to the detail. It took us 2 years to build it.
So, but you were part of building that.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
I would see some of your videos.
I was the project manager,
Wow.
and I was learning as I went along. I had no idea, just like I had no idea what I was getting into with this play.
Right.
You think, I'm an open-minded person, but I had no idea what transgender was, what it really is, what it means to be transgender. So I was educated by my co-writers and others, but I also had no idea what it would take to build a venue in a city. I mean, the buildings department, everything that they put us through for 2 years was insane, especially since we were in a neighborhood that, I mean, if you go down the block, there's 15 burnt out storefronts.
Right.
So we're going into a neighborhood that needs this.
Right.
And we've activated that block. We have a Rosebud Gallery next to us. Our audience members go there first. They get a drink. Then they go, so they give, Kabore, who owns the place, is a wonderful person. He gets a little business. Some people have even bought a lot of the artwork that he has. Then they come into our place. And after they stay at our place, they go to the Kung Fu Action Theater Park, which is 2 doors down.
I love this.
75 to 100 people are populating that on the weekends.
Right.
And that's how art can change things.
I love that. I love that. That's so inspiring and so true. And then that's what creates community, no matter what you are, whether you're straight or gay or anything else, like that's a real community where people are coexisting and helping each other. I love that.
Just like with Tony and Tina's wedding, we've created so many friendships and community, so I think my friend Joey Suma used to always say, I think more Italian Americans got their equity cards through Tony and Tina's wedding.
Absolutely, 100%.
Than any other show there is,
Absolutely. That's why I always thank Julie Cesari. I say, Julie, you got me my equity card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
And we have a situation in our show where it is a transgender, non-binary community. And they've come to our place and they feel like this is our place. And, our set designers transgender, our directors transgender, our costume designers transgender, our stage managers are transgender, and the actors, of course, the majority of them. And they feel like there's a home there. It's their space. It's our space, but it's their space,
Wow.
And they hang out look at that. That's what we created from
You
scratch.
created this. So this isn't just a place that was already there. You created that.
No, that was created from scratch.
Wow.
So there's a shot in there somewhere of the before, but it was literally a burnt out, not burnt out, but there was nothing there. So one of the great stories was our set designer, Roxy Rose. She's a master neon maker, and you just showed a picture of one of the neon she made, but she did our neon on our front also, Compton's Cafeteria Riot. but I was having a hard time finding a counter and stools, that are authentic, old. And if you buy it new and age it, it'll cost you, $500 a stool. It's
Mm.
crazy. So she went up to Bakersfield where she lives. That's the original venue right there in that picture. That was the diner, the New Village Cafe. But anyway, she went to, she found this diner that was closing in Bakersfield. And a farmer owned it because his father owned the diner, but he was a farmer. The father passed away. He was selling everything in it. So there they were, these beautiful counter and stools, old, perfect for us. And he goes, all right, I'll give it to you for $2,000. The counter and the stools. I'm like, wow, that's great. Make the deal, And then Roxy gets back to me and goes, oh man, look at this text that I had exchanged with this guy. And Roxy's going, you're not going to use any of this shit. You know it. It's us. We need it. Nobody else is going to want it. It's garbage. We're taking the garbage away from you. And if I have to do it, I'll make the stools myself and which she could. And then blah, 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 blah. And she just hit him. And then he responds with, man, you Hollywood types are harder negotiators than us farmers. Okay, $1,200. I mean, it was just, you can just
love it.
Moment,
That's great.
So I kept a diary from the time we signed the lease to opening night. That's 2 years. Yeah, so that's great. That's what it looked like in the old diner.
Thank you, Leo. Leo's amazing.
Leo, you are amazing. Because
he is. He just
how you found this one, I don't know, but probably maybe from our Instagram. But we took those out, and those were put in the place in the Tenderloin. So it had to be shipped. We had to get rent trucks and do the whole move.
Now Julie says try to get it to San Francisco.
What?
I guess that she's saying try to get it to San Francisco, the show, but you've created that whole set.
Joe is in San Francisco.
At right. Okay. So, trying to get to San Francisco. Oh, I'm sorry. This is my mistake.
She's trying to get to San Francisco.
She's trying to get to San Francisco. I was going to say, okay. So, Julie, you have to. You have to. And so
I'll take care of you, Julie. I'll set you up. Don't worry. You get up there. That's all you need to do.
So it's still running if people want to see it, and
absolutely.
So how do if someone's in that area or wants to plan a trip to do this, how do they do that?
They go to ComptonsCafeteriaRiot.com.
Okay. Wow. That would be a trip to take. That would be a trip to take.
Yeah, and it's really like I said, it's such a visceral experience. I mean, you're really sitting in there. Characters come off the street. You're right next to the action. So, yeah.
So you're in this. They're having their situations around you.
Right.
And I know that this is not a funny show because I read up on it and I know there's a lot of very serious situations that come up.
Well, you know what? There is humor in it because you have to have some relief.
Right.
But in real life, there's humor, in this situation. So what happens is the audience comes in, they sit down, the owner, the guy who plays the owner, and the woman who plays the waitress, they're interacting with the audience. This is from the original show, this picture here. But they get served breakfast. You get pancakes and sausage.
I love this.
And then about 20 minutes into that experience, our main characters come off the street. And it's like, it's 2:00 in the morning. They come in. That cop chased me down the block. Blah, 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 blah. This guy tried to do, and the street comes into the diner,
Wow.
Through the stories, through what's going on. Yeah, it's everybody wants to say, oh, this is what transgender is. This is what that is. This is what this is. But when you come to see this play, you're going to see each character is very much different from the next. The only thing they have in common is that they're transgender, right? Everything else is personalities, right? That's how you show the humanity, right? It's not this concept. It's nuanced. It's beautiful.
You know what I'm going to try to do, Mark, because this is fascinating. I'm going to try to get, because I work at the Stonewall, I'm going to try to get a group from the Stonewall to do a trip out there.
You know, as you say that, that would be amazing. And the people from the Stonewall Monument have contacted us and used some of our footage. Supposedly, I haven't seen it. But I will tell you this, that the story of Stonewall, and the Stonewall's still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the cops were inside there, you know, during the.
Yeah. And there's back entrances. There's like all these, like, you know, like escape routes, and they still exist.
It should be recreated. It should be recreated. But anyway, yes, that would be an amazing field trip.
I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on that because this is like mind blowing. Okay, let's recap. So this is still happening. Compton Cafeteria riots.
Compton's Cafeteria
riot.com. And go and check it out. And then you have to, it's in San Francisco in the Tenderloin. This is mind blowing. Like I followed you on this, but having you tell all the behind the scenes of it and how it came to be is just blowing my mind.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And I'll give you a discount, like the family discount.
I don't care about that. I want to support the arts.
I know you do.
I've never been that person. I've
know,
never been. I hate that when people say, like, you're doing a show and they're like, oh, can I get a few? I'm like, man, we're all trying to stay afloat here. Like, give me a break. You know what I mean? We're trying to.
Can't afford it, you know.
I know, I get that, but I just really want to work on a trip. Like, this is going to be my new mission now, and I think it would be a great thing to. And I love California anyway. I'm crazy.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco gets a bad rap, but it's the most gorgeous city. I mean,
no, I love it. I've been there. I love San Francisco. We flew into San Francisco, me, my girlfriend, and a friend of ours, and then we rented a convertible and drove down the Pacific Coast Highway. Took us a few days, and it's still blew my mind. It's my favorite trip I've ever taken, and I can't get it out of my head. I was like, I fell in love, you know.
I love
so. All right, we're going to take just a minute because I want to promo a few things that are coming up, kind of like a pick of the week. So, Leo, why don't we do Eric Eves Garcia first? So, one of our mutual friends, his name is Eric Eves Garcia. His nickname is Frenchie because he speaks French fluently and does very funny French impressions. But he's an amazing piano player and singer. And he is going to be in Rhode Island this week. Let me just get this. So he is an evening with Eric Eves Garcia. He'll be at the United, which is 5 Canal Street, Westerly, Rhode Island. And that's at 8 p.m. And he's going to be doing all the cabaret stuff that he does, American Songbook, Gershwin, anything you can think of that has to do with that era. Eric will be doing that. And so please, if you're in the Rhode Island area, go and check out Eric Eves Garcia and tell him we sent you. He is one of our best friends. He's a lovely, lovely human being. Also, something that's happening that's really cool is David Sabella, who is going to be on our show next week. He's everywhere. He's written cabaret books. He's in Puerto Vallarta. He has a whole cabaret scene happening in Puerto Vallarta, but he's just come back to New York for a little while because he originally did the role of Mary Sunshine in Chicago on Broadway in 1996. How crazy is this? And now he's back in the show 29 years later for this week. So he's there tonight, but he'll be there until Sunday. So if you haven't seen Chicago, or if you have seen it and you want to see it again, it's such a great show anyway. It's been running on Broadway forever. David Sabella is playing Mary Sunshine this week until Sunday. And then he's going to be on our show next Tuesday and talk about his one-man show that he's doing. He's also written a great cabaret book. So those are our two picks of the week. Go and check that out. So just, oh my God, what a show this has been. So Mark, now let's bring Mark back in. So you are also, now you're acting in a couple of different things right now, right? 'Cause I saw your post today. You're doing like 3 things.
Well, I'm shooting a pilot with Susanna Melendez.
Yeah, I love Susanna.
We're doing that in LA. I was doing Tony and Tina's in here in San Francisco. I'm not in San Francisco. I'm in Cape Cod, but that show is going on. I have another project that I'm working on that I want to bring to Chicago, which is the Robert Show Club. And Herman Roberts was a black man who ran a very famous nightclub. It was on the south side of Chicago, and the people the musicians that would play for the white audiences, because it was de facto segregation even in the 50s and 60s.
Of course.
They would come down and play at Robert Show Club to a black audience, or a black and tan they called it. It was a mixed audience, but it was mostly black audience. He was a phenomenal entrepreneur, and he had every act you can imagine came through there. So his son, somebody was going to hire me to write a screenplay about him. It never happened. But during the pandemic, I thought, like, man, this would be a great immersive show. And Herman gave me the green light, and his son is a director and writer in Los Angeles. And, him and I wrote this immersive show. You go to the Robert Show Club. It's the night Dick Gregory gets on stage, and Hugh Hefner wanted to take him out of there, bring him to the Playboy Club. But Dinah Washington's a character. Sam Cooke's a character.
Wow.
It's I've gone on to a different track now, and I just want to do, I love history, and I love going into the neighborhood where it happened. So my dream is to do it in the south side of Chicago. And I've been there. I've been looking at some places. So once we, when I feel I'm firmly on hard, ground with Compton's, I'm going to pursue that.
Wow, this is incredible.
Yep.
Honey, you're here to tell people stories.
You know what? I was very fortunate with a couple of shows, and I told Italian American stories, I just want to say one more thing. They come in and they like to say that Tony and Tina is stereotypical. They're stereotypes. But they say that about working class people. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if we're not like acting like Anglo-Saxons, we're stereotypes. Because as you know, in Tony and Tina's wedding, there's 20-some characters. One's different from the next.
Absolutely.
Now, some people can, over caricature their part for sure, but that's not how it's conceived. And so you want to tell these stories, and the immersive experience is it's just so much more. It's so powerful when you're sitting next to it, right? That's the difference. And, I'm getting up there in age, and I just would like to devote myself to projects that are more lean this way.
I love this. All right. So sadly, we're at the end of our show. I can't believe it. I mean,
I so enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, honey, I can't thank you enough. I know how busy you are. And like I said, I've always reached out, and I wanted to get you on, but this has really been amazing. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Now, I always end the shows the same every week. People that watch and listen to our show are other creative people. And so what words of inspiration, although everything you've said has been inspiring. I mean, really, thank you. But if someone is stuck, like you're not someone that gets stuck very much, but let's say someone is not feeling so great about their art, or doesn't know what to do next, or has kind of like tossed in the towel, what would you tell that person?
You know, I would tell that person that just the same way, you know, when you're stuck, you know, even, you know, if you have depression, you know, you're depressed, man, there's days, I'm telling you, with this project where I can't even tell you, my wife can tell you, where I did not want to get out of bed. I mean, so much pressure, so much could go wrong. You know, you're just under it. Get that foot and put it in front of the other and keep going. That's what you do. Even if it's the smallest, tiniest thing, you get up and you move forward. Even if it's like 1 inch that day, but you got to keep moving forward to your end. That's what you have to do. You don't, the problem is people look at the whole thing. Well, if I
Right.
looked at the whole thing, it would have never gotten done because it would
Right.
seem like a mountain. But it's those little steps that take you forward. Get yourself up. You have writer's block, right? You have block, you know, writing. You have block painting. You have block singing. Just keep going and do it again. That's all I can. That's what I can say.
I love it. Honey, I can't thank you enough. I mean, this has been so wonderful to spend time with you. Anyway, I always have loved you. You're a beautiful person. You always treat
As you
people
are.
with
As you are.
respect. And I've learned a lot from you. And I can't thank you enough. And good luck with everything. And seriously, I'm going to work on my Stonewall family and doing a field trip out there because this is going to be mind blowing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And
All
I
right.
love you very much.
Thank you, Maria. I love you. And thank Leo. He knocked it out of the park.
Leo is incredible. He does a lot of great stuff. And anything you need, Leo's your guy.
All right.
So we'll see everybody next. We're here every Tuesday night from 9 to 10 Eastern. Remember, we love and appreciate you. Good night.
Good night. Thank